can get rolling. All right, I'm here with Nick Pipitone today. Thank you for joining me, Nick.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. So you are here. Your new album is titled Deedsville.
Yes, it is.
It's out now on Cool Cat Records.
Yes, it is.
So I guess first of all, why don't you give us a little history on yourself? You've been making music for a while now.
I have been in Milwaukee for sure. I've been in a bunch of bands in Milwaukee over time, and as a solo artist, as a band guy, my former backing band is now a '80s cover band called Radio.
Okay.
That are quite successful. They're actually quite good. The guys that I used to be in a band with back in the day. But I haven't been in a band in a really long time, but I've not stopped recording. And honestly, a lot of the recording that I've been doing has made me maybe potentially rethink my status as a band guy, because I was like, I really like to play, and I like to play these songs live at least once. So who knows, when the pandemic is over and, hopefully everything opens up, I'll be able to maybe con some dudes into learning the tunes, and get back to the old days. But yeah, I mean, this is an album that I've been working on for quite a while, actually.
Okay. Yeah, and Deedsville is a concept album.
Yes, it is.
That you wrote about. I believe you live in Deedsville now, so it's about your hometown.
It is. It's about my hometown. It's when you start to write, I mean, lyrics are really important to me, and storytelling is really important to me. Like when it comes to songwriting. So I was like, I want to write, because I hadn't written in a long time. And I was like, well, what can I write about? So I'm like, what they say, write about what you know. And I was like thinking about my life here in this small sort of suburb of Milwaukee, and the things that I see and the people that I meet. And, what if I could just make up some stories about Deedsville and create this whole album called Deedsville? And that's kind of just how it started. It's like there's, the name of my subdivision is Century Estates, and the park that I sing about is Fireman's Park, which is where all the softball games and stuff happen. Right. And they have the boat dock, and the Gathering is kind of a loose allusion to the Gathering on the Green, which is a concert that happens at the park over on Highland. So I was just thinking about all those things, and I was just writing about them, just extrapolating stories around Deedsville, but doing it in sort of a more melodic pop style is the way I write.
Okay. Yeah. And in one of the interviews or reviews, you mentioned you even took like a breakfast restaurant and turned it into a person.
I did.
Making breakfast.
Yeah. There's like one of those like Greek restaurants on the main drag here. It's called the Prime Minister. And I was thinking that what if it actually was run by the Prime Minister?
Okay.
It's called the Prime Minister, but I was like, what if the Prime Minister was actually the person running it? So I made it into this like very royal and highly esteemed place to get breakfast, pancakes and bacon, and turned it into like a psychedelic jam, pretty much.
Okay.
Just for fun. I mean, this is the thing, is it's just creativity. It's just me. I mean, I wrote the songs, I wrote the lyrics, I played all the instruments. So it's just me having fun, really.
Yeah. And I was going to ask you about that. So you recorded everything and you played all of the instruments, and there's not, it's not just a guitar, bass, and drums on this album. There are a lot of instruments on this album.
Yeah.
Like, especially, like there are strings and horns.
Yes, there is. Yeah. Computers are, I mean, I've been doing music for so long, and I've been extremely, extremely fortunate to look over the shoulders of some of the best, in my opinion, some of the best people, my friend Kyle White, my friend Peter Batchelder, who I've made records with under the name The Ripoff Artists, and watching them work and how they make sounds on computers, I learned a lot. So, I mean, there's a little bit of a trick to it, and there's a few secrets, but not that many. I mean, and everyone kind of does what they do differently. But I just from looking over their shoulder, I was able to like build out arrangements and program drums in a way that, while it's not perfect, and it's definitely, I mean, I think if I make another record, or when I make another album, I'll definitely use a real drummer. But in this case, it was just all me in my basement, programming and writing and arranging on my own.
So how does that writing go? So you mentioned you're really a lyrics guy. Did
Mhm.
you, and you built stories for the songs, but how did you, I guess, how do you then fit those into the music and create the arrangements when
Well,
you're,
the process kind of goes like this, and this is my process. This isn't
Mhm. Yeah,
everybody's
absolutely.
process.
Yeah.
I don't think I don't believe in a right or wrong way to do it.
Right.
Once I have the concept for the song, like one of the songs is called Skippy Had a Dream, which is about a restaurant called Skippy's, which is downtown Deedsville, that where you can get burgers and beer. And I had this idea that Skippy was this like 12-year-old boy who ran a bar and grill. And I wrote about that and I made it
Okay.
up, even though Skippy's is a real place.
Hmm.
So I wrote the song, I wrote the lyrics and put chords to it. And it originally was like in 3/4 time, and I
Hmm.
recorded it and I didn't like it. I was like, this doesn't work. And then Adam Schlesinger of Fountains of Wayne, who passed away from COVID-19, was one of my great mentors, one of the best songwriters of my time. I mean, Fountains of Wayne is a band that I literally worshipped for such a long time. And when he passed away, when I thought about the title, Skippy Had a Dream, I was like, that sounds like a Fountains of Wayne song. It sounds like a title. That sounds like something Fountains of Wayne might have written. So I
Hmm.
took my 3/4 thing, I deconstructed it, and I recorded myself on a guitar playing the song through to like a click. So I'm on in time.
Hmm.
And then I've got like the bass level stuff. And then once my scratch vocal and guitar part was down, then you start to build out the parts and start to arrange, choruses, verses, what you're going to do in the second
Okay.
verse, what happens in the bridge, what maybe some different guitar sounds in the bridge. And then for the drums, it's almost like you have to, and I'm not a drummer. I mean,
Hmm.
I wish I was. I so much wish I was. But but you almost have to think like a drummer. So I would almost, instead of like programming the drums in a very sort of dehumanizing way, I'll just hit record on the song and play through it on a keyboard.
Oh,
And
okay. Hmm.
I'll just like I'm a real drummer and I'm playing it, kick, snare, cymbals, just like playing it for real, hitting all
Hmm.
the accents and stuff like that. And then there's a lot of trial and error, going back and fixing a little bit of that and just like tweaking where beats happen and where fills might happen. Um, and that's just kind of how I build it out. And then mixing, of course, which takes the longest time.
Okay. So yeah, and you've said in a couple again on some other interviews where the mixing was the most difficult for you.
Yes,
Yes.
it was. Well, because I'd never mixed anything.
Okay.
I
Right.
always did stuff in studios, and
Hmm.
there would be someone there that would mix it, or I
Right.
would have friends of mine help me, do it. So it was like, and I think that's what delayed the album, honestly, and because I didn't have a lot of confidence in mixing it myself. And again, looking over the shoulder of someone like my friend Kyle, where I saw what he was doing, and he was showing me stuff about EQ and compression and separation and all this kind of stuff, panning, and I just looking over his shoulder, I was like, I think I can do this. I think I can. And
Hmm.
then the pandemic hit, and it's like, hey, we're all at home. There's no better time to teach myself how to mix than right now. I was
Right.
like, I'm gonna, and I wanted to see the light of day. So that's kind of how it happened. And it's just it's a mind numbing circle of mixing, going to your car, listening to it, going on your computer, listening to it, turning down a bass or turning down a guitar or turning up a snare, doing that again. And that cycle continues and continues. And you're like, okay, I think I got it.
Right.
And it
So
takes
I
time.
guess in that process as a solo, as a solo artist with this, did you bounce the ideas off of anybody or, kind of bring the parts to people to get some feedback? Because like when you're in a band, you've got all of those other
Yeah.
other individuals giving you feedback on
Yeah.
how to arrange, how, what sounds good. And, you're kind of, what's the editorial process like for you?
Well, there's
When
a
you're,
really, really close friend of mine whose name is Peter Batchelder, who's a brilliant in his own right. And he's, like I said, I made a couple albums with him under the name of the
Mhm.
Ripoff Artists, which you can find online probably somewhere. They're obscure. They're obscure. Um, the but he was kind of a guy that I could play stuff for, and he would say, "You need to put this in the second verse, and you need to add a guitar part that doubles this in the bridge." Like he would get real specific with
Okay.
suggestions. I mean, I didn't necessarily always do what he said,
Hmm.
but he was extremely helpful in like helping me think about the songs differently, because everybody hears music differently, and you have
Right.
in your mind of what it should be. And then he would say, you know, he would say, you need a guitar part in the second verse that sounds like the horn part in Blur's The Universal, or say really specific stuff like that, you know,
Wow. Yeah.
like real
Like,
specific stuff.
yeah, like almost a producer in that vein. Yeah.
In a way, yeah, he would say that, and he helped me a ton in that way. I mean, I definitely played the mixes for other people just to see if something, I was like, just tell me if something like blares out at you, or if you think that
Mhm.
like a guitar is too loud, or are the drums too loud, or just tell me how it sounds in your ear pods or whatever, or earbuds. And you know, I got a little bit of feedback that way too. But you know, like I said, over the years I learned so much from so many people. I think it just kind of came together, you know, in my own in the only the way that I could do it.
So another thing that you've mentioned is that you know, you're pulling in a lot of inspiration from the '60s,
Yeah.
and specifically from like the Kinks
Yeah.
as a reference for this particular album. Did you have specific sounds that you wanted to create when on this album in particular, because it's a concept album, or is this kind of your? Do you feel like this is your, like
Uh,
your writing style? Did that change up based off of kind of the concept of the album?
it's weird because what happens is, and this has happened to me on a number of things, and I think this happens to musicians in general a lot, where they say, like, for example, the reason I wanted to make an album about Deedsville was, I mean, obviously I've listened to the Village Green Preservation Society a billion times, and that's kind of an album about a place and time and a people, you know,
Hmm.
and a community. And that was like the inspiration. So when I first started recording, I was actually playing around with like Kink style guitar sounds and
Hmm.
drum sounds and things that are fairly difficult to pull off on a computer, um, given my limitations on what I had. And I think what ends up happening is you just sound like how you sound.
Hmm. Right.
And when you try to emulate something, it never really comes off, because I'm not the Kinks. You know, the
Right.
Kinks are a
Yeah.
legendary band who, you
Hmm.
know, who created music under a very specific set of circumstances that aren't my circumstances.
Right.
So I think when you say, "Oh, I'm going to make a song that sounds like blank," unless you're a library musician and you can kind of rip that off and that's your goal, I get it. But in this situation, it's more about who you are as a musician, what your vision is, and how it comes out of you. And I could never copy the Kinks. I mean, I ditched that very early on. Like, this album is not going to sound like the Kinks, even though there are like hooky choruses and catchy
Hmm.
guitar parts and all that kind of stuff that I love about the Kinks. It's my own creation, really.
No, absolutely. And I think that's really, you know, that's a really smart, you know, kind of, you know, I think when musicians get caught in trying to sound like X, it doesn't come across as genuine then, you know, and
Right.
there's a difference between trying to imitate or be inspired by the Kinks
Yeah.
and then, you know, bring that into your own sound and your own vision is different than trying to imitate something, you know, which
Yeah.
may not be as genuine. This in this way, you know, there's definitely that '60s pop, you know, or power pop, you know, sound that's prevalent throughout the album. But you know,
Yep.
yeah, it's updated. It's definitely, you know, it's
Yep.
not, you know, it's not ripping anybody off for sure.
Yeah, I mean,
So,
I mean, definitely being guys who are into that kind of music will have reviewed the album, and they say what everyone says about me, which is it
mhm.
sounds like Elvis Costello or Squeeze or XCC or Crowded House, you know, because those are all the bands that I listened to and loved and could
Mhm.
not help but be inspired by.
Yeah, but I mean, it's yeah, you know, and yeah, I see that, and that's true. But I mean, it's not, you know, you can't. I don't think you can also attribute any of those to your particular sound. It's your sound,
Yeah.
you know, and
Yep.
you know, you're right because you know, and I kind of hear similar sounds to like Trolley here from here in Milwaukee.
Oh yeah,
That
yeah, yeah, yeah.
we, you know, that
Yep.
kind of, you know, but again, it's just a genre type thing. It's not a, you know,
Yeah.
creative because you guys sound, you know, also at the same time very different.
Yeah. Yeah.
So how did you get involved with how did you get involved with Cool Cat Records?
Well, Ray, who's in charge of Cool Cat Records, put out an album of mine a long time ago called that when I was in a band that was just called Pipitone, and um, I put out an album called Music for Minivans. I recorded an album called Music for Minivans, and he heard it. I don't know how he heard it. I don't remember. I don't recall how he heard it. It was because it was getting passed around power pop circles, which he is a big part of, and he loved it, and he was like, "I want to put out this album. I think it's amazing." And so, that's cool. And so he did, and it sold to a degree through Cool Cat. And things happen, you move on, bands break up and you go on and do different things, and I didn't really think about it. And then when Deedsville, I like announced that I put this album Deedsville out, lo and behold, my phone rings and I see New Jersey, and I pick it up thinking it's going to be a spammer, and it was Ray. And Ray was like, "You got a new album out. I think it's great. I want to put it out." So it was kind of just this long distance connection from a while ago when I had an album, and he saw I had a new album out. He loved it. He's like, "I want to put this one out too." And I was like, "Hey, this is great. Lucky strike for me." So hopefully people will hear this. They want to listen to it. Go to Cool Cat, all K's, Cool Cat Music, all K's, and download it or listen to it or buy it.
Yeah, so it's physically available at Cool Cat Music, KOOLKATMUSIK.com.
Yep.
Also up on your Bandcamp page digitally at nickpipitone.bandcamp.com. So you mentioned you hope ideally to play this live at some point in time.
I'd like to.
Yeah. So what are you doing in the meantime? I mean, you just released the album, and obviously, we're kind of hamstrung as far as promotion.
For sure. I haven't done a whole lot, honestly. And I've thought about doing some live, online live stuff. I just haven't done it yet. I mean, one of the problems with making an album by yourself is you do it and you release it, and then you do other things, and you're like, I don't remember the chords of those songs. So I have to sort of relearn the album, teach it back to myself, because it took so long to do. And I don't know if I could get through one of the songs live if I tried. I would maybe bits and pieces of it. Definitely I could pick up a guitar and do it. But that would be the first step. I'd have to reteach myself the songs and then do it. But it's something I definitely want to do. I just have to find the time to do it.
Right.
But who knows? I don't know. I mean, I miss playing. It's been such a long time since I played live, and it's so good to just strap it on and just like go. Get loud once.
So like with an album like this, do your live shows, do your live shows tend to try and recreate the album, or do you create a different experience live? Because, again, you've got a lot of layers on Deedsville. You would have a lot of musicians on stage with you.
I would. I don't know. That's a great question. How would I do that? That's a good problem to have. Maybe, I don't know. I'd have to sort of figure that out. Like, because some of the songs, you're right, are very straightforward rock songs, but some of the songs are very layered, and orchestrally layered. So I don't know. That's a good question. I have to figure that out. I may need a laptop. I'll bring a laptop on stage with me.
Right. And you may have some time to figure it out, until we can get back to live music, hopefully.
Oh God. Hopefully soon. I don't know. We'll see.
So, all right. So thank you for joining us here today. Again, Nick Pipitone, your new album is titled Deedsville. It's up on your Bandcamp page at nickpipitone.bandcamp.com. Also available at Cool Cat Music, where all the C's are K's, coolcatmusic.com. You're up on Facebook, I take it, as well. Everywhere else that we can get a hold, people can check you out.
I'm not on Facebook.
Oh, not okay.
I'm not on Facebook. I am trying to steer clear of Facebook.
That's fair.
That's a word to all the people listening to this right now. Try to just, if possible, stay off Facebook. I am hard to find online. I am on Bandcamp. So Bandcamp is where my album is.
Yep.
I'm on Twitter, and I'm on Instagram as Pipitographer. Okay.
Fantastic. Thank you very much. Again, the new album by Nick Pipitone is Deedsville, available at nickpipitone.bandcamp.com and at coolcatmusic.com, all K's in the Cool Cat Music. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Craig. Appreciate it.
Absolutely.